Brexit and the UK's position during the negotiations on Brexit from these results. We can talk a little bit more about all of that with Jonathan Isaby, who's editor of BrexitCentral, a pro-Brexit online platform, and also with us James McCrory, co-executive director of Open Britain, a group that emerged from the Remain campaign as campaigning against so-called hard Brexit. Let's talk about UKIP first of all, Jonathan. I mean, their votes just collapsed, hasn't it? Are they finished as a political force in this country?
Oh, one struggles to see what they're going to do now. Their whole raison d'etre has effectively been sorted in the sense that the British public have voted for Brexit in a referendum, and the current government are getting on with delivering that. Now, what is the point of voting UKIP
Well, Nigel
anymore?
Farage says they're an insurance policy for a hard Brexit.
I think, in a sense, if the current government were down the line to renege on delivering Brexit, as we expect them to, I think UKIP possibly could see a resurgence. But what you've effectively seen over the last 10, even 15 years has been increasing numbers of people voting UKIP at elections who are dissatisfied with the status quo, wanted to send a message to Westminster or whoever, whichever election it happened to be, that they weren't happy with our relationship with the European Union, and to the point that the last election, the last general election, UKIP got nearly 4 million votes. And all of a sudden, after the referendum, those votes are clearly now up for grabs again, and there's only one of the three established parties which is effectively committed to delivering Brexit, and from last night's results, the Tories appear to be sapping all those votes up.
And James, where have the Remain voters gone? Because Labour haven't done very well, and the Liberal Democrats haven't done that well, so where are Remainers voting?
Well, actually, if you look at the combined vote share of Labour and the Liberal Democrats, it's actually higher than the Conservatives and UKIP, but clearly it's been split between a number of different parties: Labour, the Liberal Democrats, the Scottish Nationalists, Plaid, the Green Party. There are more, as Jonathan rightly points out, players on the Remain party scene than there are leavers. I think the most significant thing, though, as Jonathan says, is the total and utter collapse of the UKIP vote, and as far as I can see, its wholesale move to the Conservative Party. I think the most interesting effect of that for the general election is people who are termed liberal leavers or soft leavers, or those who don't want to see a particularly hard version of Brexit, may well be a bit concerned when they see someone like Paul Nuttall, the leader of UKIP, say that the wholesale move of their vote to the Conservatives is a price they're prepared to pay, because the Conservative government is pretty set on a hard version of Brexit that may not appeal to all of those people that voted Leave.
But for example, the Liberal Democrat leader Tim Farron saying, if you want a soft Brexit, vote for us. We're the party that's going to champion that. But why haven't they done better then?
No, I don't think you should be too dismissive of how well the Liberal Democrats have done tonight.
Well, they've lost 40-odd seats.
Well, they've put on 7% of their vote. They're polling 18% of the vote. And as a long-standing Liberal Democrat, I remember reading the obituaries of the party 2 years ago, and now they're polling 18% of the vote. And UKIP, that remember won an election as recently as 2014, are polling just 5%. So I'm not saying it's been a brilliant night for the Liberal Democrats by any means, but it's a pretty solid performance. And what they'll be really interested in is in those seats that they're targeting in a few weeks' time in the general election, the Cheltenhams, the Eastleys, the Baths of this world. They've done pretty well indeed, and they will be taking a good look at that and saying we can build on that in 5 weeks' time.
I think the Lib Dems are starting from a very low base, so even if they go up a few percentage points, I don't think it'll win them very many more seats. But what James also discounts is the fact that a lot of people who did vote with his side during the referendum actually now, in fact the majority of those people, now actually accept the referendum result and want the government to get on with delivering Brexit.
So you think Remainers are voting Tory, basically?
Oh, I think there's a lot of people who voted Remain who are perfectly happy to vote for parties who now are committed to delivering Brexit, because that is what the people voted for, and they don't want to see the referendum revisited.
Is this going to be, in your view, when we get to the general election, is it going to be a Brexit election?
Look, it's clearly the issue which has caused the Prime Minister to call the election. I think she was right to do so. The fact is that there are a number of figures from the political establishment, particularly those in the House of Lords, who are threatening to derail and obstruct the government's attempts to get the necessary legislation through the House of Lords over the coming couple of years. If the current government gets re-elected with a manifesto mandate to deliver on the Brexit that people voted for at the election, the House of Lords will be put in its place, and the government will have that mandate to get on with delivering it.
How do you see it, James?
Well, for the general election, I think this is a big wake-up call for people who are opposed to hard Brexit. The Conservatives have had a fantastic night. There's no point pretending otherwise.
And the projections are they're going to do very well at the general election.
They look set for a landslide in 5 weeks. Let's be honest about this, up against an opposition that barely seems to be able, in the Labour Party, to mount a serious challenge. So I would say to people, look at this. If you are concerned about the direction the government is taking, about a potentially hard Brexit that will cost jobs, that will increase prices in the shops, you need to go out and get stuck in at this election, because
what does that mean, getting stuck in?
It means you need to go out and campaign. I don't think it's healthy for our democracy to live in a one-party state. And when we're talking about majorities of 150 or more,
well, there have been landslide governments before, so that doesn't mean it's a one-party state, surely.
I personally, regardless of my political views, don't think it's a particularly healthy situation where you have a government returned without any opposition. I think even the most ardent Brexit supporter would accept it's a good thing to have a healthy opposition keeping the government on their toes. At the moment, we're not looking like that. The Conservatives are able to get through this local election campaign and probably this general election campaign without answering any of the difficult questions about Brexit, about any of the challenges and trade-offs that are going to come during these
negotiations. But that is why Theresa May called the election, because she didn't want to be challenged in the Palace of Westminster.
Oh, I think she called the election because she wanted a mandate to deliver on the Brexit that people voted for last year. And, you know, clearly the opposition at Westminster has not been particularly strong. It may be weaker after the election if Labour don't do particularly well. But if the Conservative government is re-elected with a bigger majority, at the same time, that is a mandate from the British people, which people on the Remain side have been telling those on the Leave side for some months the current government doesn't have. Well, if they got a mandate on June the 8th, then they'll have it and they can deliver on it.
Great to talk to both of you. Thank you for your time tonight, Jonathan Isaby and James McGrory. I'm sure we'll be talking again.